Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're wondering why I'm dressed like this, I gotta tell you, it's cold where I live. In fact, yesterday we were the third coldest place on the planet, next to Russia, and then another part of my province was the second coldest. It was minus 41 degrees Celsius yesterday. I'm telling you, it's cold. So this is part 2 of the winter cabin diorama that we finished up. It looks great and it goes perfect with how the weather is out right now. So let's get to work. We'll show you what we did.
All right, so here what we got going on is we got some flower type plant things from the dollar store. Now these were really cool. I thought that these were going to turn into great trees. I'd have to paint them up. The only unfortunate thing about them was that there's a ton of glitter on there. So there's glitter all over my house, dogs, you name it. But anyway, after I cut it all up, then I decided to use my airbrush and decided to spray these with a nice dark green, hunter green I believe it was called. Now this did all these with one coat with the airbrush, and boy, it was really light. So then all I did was I mixed up more green color in a cup, and then I just dipped these things and let them drip off, and they turned out much better. It would have taken probably 3 or 4 coats with an airbrush. So then after that was done, I moved on to the structure of the cabin, again with some XPS foam. Fairly thick because I wanted to do some deep scoring into the side to make it look like logs. So got the structure all done up. Here I am just gluing it up. Really basic, simple structure. It's quite small. And then moved on to cutting out a window in the side of the cabin. Simple window, square, the cross in the middle of it. That was basically it for the window. Just wanted something for the LED light to shine through, you know, a little bit of a warm feeling inside the cabin as you're looking at it. So this window was perfect. Just needed one window. Perfect for the light that's going to be in there. And of course, every cabin needs a door. So we're going to cut a simple door out. Boom. Just like that. Then moving on to the log cabin part of the structure. Just going to cut some deep grooves. That'll simulate the logs. And after I cut all these with a razor, I'm going to go back over it with a pencil just to give it a deeper groove. And I went quite deep. Now, I'm glad I used a thicker foam for this project because I went very deep with these grooves just to simulate that log cabin look. And my favorite tool for making wood grain in foam are tweezers. Here I am just using the one side, but normally I'll use the 2 sides and I'll alternate opening and closing the tweezers, and it gives just a perfect looking wood grain. That's my favorite way to do it. And so here I just glued on a very simple roof. Not much to that at all. Putting everything in place and let that dry for a bit. And here's the chimney now. So this, all I did was did a little bit of a brickwork. Again, cutting it with a razor and then scoring it deep with a pencil. and then a little tin foil, give it a little bit of stone texture. And then what I did here was I took a piece of foam and I started shaving it into a small cylinder. What I wanted to do with that is slice that cylinder up into pieces and use that as the log ends on the log cabin. So this turned out not too bad. I think I'll try a different technique the next time I do this. Although this was a pretty small cabin, so it wasn't as easy to see all the texture in the end grain of those log ends. But nevertheless, it turned out pretty good. So here I'm just slicing up that piece of foam.
Oh no! Funky Pit's getting you down? Those other brands just don't work. Introducing Like brand deodorant with anti-funk technology. Freshness that lasts all day. Like brand by Lansco.
And then ever so delicately gluing it to the end of the cabin. So after that was done, I moved on to painting. And I just used a stone gray color for the chimney. Painted the whole thing this color. Got it deep into those grooves. Those grooves were quite deep again, so the paint got in there nicely. But it still showed all the brickwork. So this is really good job getting that foam cut deep. Alright, next, so I mixed some burnt umber and cinnamon brown, and I used that to cover the whole cabin. I painted everything other than the roof. I didn't need to paint the roof. I painted everything, including the end grain logs, for the time being. And I'm going to move on and paint that a different color. But this color, this brown, turned out really nice. I liked it a lot. So after I give the chimney a quick glue on to the house, we're going to move on to painting the end grain, the end logs on the cabin. So here I used like a butter yellow, a tiny bit of black, and a little bit of brown, just to give it some color differentiation against the rest of the log cabin. And now here's a mixture that I made for some snow. So I want to cover the whole roof of the cabin with a thick layer of fresh snow. So what I used was Mod Podge, white paint, and good old baking soda. And you just mix that together, and that gives a really interesting texture. Kind of grainy, very close to snow. So it turned out pretty well. And then all I did was took that mixture and then I started to put it on top of the cabin, onto the roof, in an as natural way as I possibly could. But look at the texture of this stuff. This stuff is really cool. Depending on how much baking soda you put in, you can make this texture a little more runny, or a little more stiff, which is great. You can use different types of snow in different areas of your project. So this came out really cool. So after that was dried, I just glued that house, that little cabin, to the mountain structure. And And then I moved on to the tree installation. So I had a lot of trees here. Now, not only did I have all these full-length ones, I cut them down and I used some smaller trees kind of going off into the background, kind of simulating perspective that the farther away the trees were, the smaller they got. So just drilled some holes into the base, a little bit of Mod Podge, and glued them in. And that's all the trees there. Looks really good. They're not all straight, which I really like. So then I made up some more snow mixture, and I'm just putting that all around the cabin, all around the trees, to make it look like really thick snow on the ground as well. This stuff turned out pretty great. So then the final step was I took some pure white paint, watered it down just slightly. I wanted it a little bit thicker than you would normally use in a paintbrush or in an airbrush. And then I just started to frost all the trees. Wanted to make them look like they had a fair amount of snow on them. So everything turned out really well. I'm really happy with this project, you guys. So you'll see the finished project here right away. Let me know what you guys think. And you guys have an awesome day. Take care.